Party people, well, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast, where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Patrick Burke for a game of Pale Dot by Devin Nelson. Patrick is a Philadelphia-based performer and producer of the show Thawing, currently airing as part of Philadelphia Fringe Festival, which is, of course, a month-long celebration of experimental art throughout the city of Philadelphia. Go Birds! Imagine a world trapped in eternal winter. A journey across the harsh tundra awaits you. It takes strength to move forward when you can't feel your toes. Thawing is a combination of characters, movement, and world building, all things that, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably enjoy, that tell the story of a society frozen in the snow. That which is buried needs warmth to recover. Will you see the magic on the other side of the blizzard? At the time of this recording, September 18th, Thawing has one show left on the calendar. That is next Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. You can find more information about the show at phillyfringe.org, where you can get your tickets. As always, check out the show notes for more information. Pale Dot is a collaborative storytelling game for 2 to 5 players about a crew of non-human cosmonauts leaving their planet to explore a strange solar system, finding threads to unravel the unknown along the way. It is fantastical, surreal, and perhaps very unlike humanity's own ventures into space exploration. The one thing is universal. Leaving home is terrifying, dangerous, humbling, and a catalyst for changing one's own perspective. This game rips. I adore Pale Dot. This game is captivating and beautiful and non-human in the way that you want an alien space travel game to be. I think about this game all the time. I was so excited to get to play it, especially when Patrick pitched Thawing, and when they pitched the themes of the show and how we could find a game to sort of match that. Pale Dot immediately came to mind because this game is beautiful and evocative and weird and exploratory in a way that I just find absolutely incredible. You can find more information about Pale Dot at devindecibel.itch.io or check the show notes for more information. Or, I got one more place you can learn more about the game. You can head to patreon.com/JeffStormer right now and check out the newest episode of Party of One Plus One, which is our Patreon-exclusive side series where we take a closer look at games and have deeper conversations with returning guests to hear me play Pale Dot with Devin, the designer of the game, right now. This was kind of a special opportunity because when we were talking to Patrick, Pale Dot felt like the perfect sort of way to encapsulate the themes of Thawing in a fun and engaging way. But also, we had recorded an episode with Devin a couple months ago that's set to hit the main feed sometime early next year. And we figured, hey, why not release both episodes at the same time? Come check out the episode on Patreon. I think you're really going to love it. If you really enjoyed this episode, you want to hear a more thorough sort of rules-driven playthrough of the game from beginning to end, I think you're really going to love the episode on Patreon. Again, you can find that at patreon.com/JeffStormer or check the show notes for more information. But first, an ad. But for me this time, hey party people, it's Present Jeff. I want to talk to you about a new thing that we're doing over on Patreon that I think you might really want to check out, and that is Party of One Plus One. Party of One Plus One is a new Patreon-exclusive bonus series that we're doing, which expands on Party of One, deeper conversations with returning guests. We're featuring bonus episodes where we continue the stories we tell on the podcast, new games with returning guests to keep the conversation about our shared passions going, and deeper looks at games that we're playing on the show to kind of show off the games that we're playing in a different light. We recently released an episode with friend of the show, Jadzia Axelrod, where we did kind of a superhero DC Comics fan fiction story starring Galaxy from Galaxy the Prettiest Star. We're about to drop a deeper dive into the game Pale Dot, which we're playing next week on the show, with designer Devin Nelson to kind of show off the range of stories that game can play. We've got returning guests like Emily Booza, Rich Howard, Senda. There's a lot of cool stuff. I think that it's worth checking out if you haven't checked out the Patreon before, if you checked it out a while back and dropped off. All of that can be found at patreon.com/JeffStormer. If I say something else different later on in the episode, you're listening to an old episode, that URL is out of date. It's patreon.com/JeffStormer. And now, back to me in the past. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can start with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so excited. I really have been looking forward to this game and this recording all day. I'm sitting down today with Patrick Burke. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Oh my God, so thrilled to be here. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be playing this game today. I'm stoked to be talking about the project that you're here to talk about today. This is we were talking about this off mic. This is the gem of my day. This is very specifically the gem of today, and there's such a joy in getting to this moment and getting to play this game. But before we get into that, why don't you take a moment, let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
I would love that. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Burke. I am a local theater maker, local to Philadelphia, and I have a project on the cusp that is coming to the Philadelphia Fringe Festival. If you're not aware, it's a gigantic theater festival that takes over the city of Philly for the entire month of September. And I have 2 performances of my solo show called Thawing during that. By the time of this episode airs, there will only be closing night left on September 25th. So please come and see this show called Thawing that involves solo storytelling and world building and an emotional journey through this horrifying tundra. So yeah, please come and check that out. And I can't wait to explore some similar themes here in today's recording.
I can't believe that I almost forgot to do this. I must kick this off with the sacred and treasured greeting of our people and just say, go birds.
Go birds! Hell yeah!
I almost forgot to hit a go birds, and I would have been so upset at the end of this recording. I would have been shamed. I would have been
criminal. Yeah, you have Philly guest member on. We gotta give it to him.
You gotta give him one. If we don't hit it once, it doesn't feel right. I think I'm saying this on mic to hold myself accountable, and listeners feel free to at me next, I think March, April, if you're hearing these words of every year I think to myself, Philly Fringe is so exciting, and I'm always like, man, there's such a weird space for some kind of weird tabletop thing.
Yeah.
And every year, September arrives, and I'm like, nope, missed it. Next year. Next year we're aiming for it.
Oh my God, there's so much space available here. Yeah, I got to see a show last year by a designer and theater maker, game designer and theater maker named Jessica Cohn, who made this brilliant piece called Tea Party at the End of the Universe that was so intimate and so relaxed in a 15-person audience space that was really, really heartwarming. So there's definitely an audience and a place for game design to appear at the Fringe.
And that's exactly why I love Philly Fringe so much is and I say this out loud knowing that I am a parody of myself because it's the same thing that I would say about professional wrestling, which is there is such a magical experience to witnessing art being created in a space where 15 people are going to experience it.
Yes!
And that experience of getting to my dear friend Aaron always kind of uses the analogy for tabletop games as you're making sculptures in the snow, and I think it's that same kind of experience when you're making art in that space for that kind of crowd is we are making something for a very small number of people that for those people that are in the room are going to carry that in their hearts for really the rest of of their lives. There's such a real palpable magic in that is just, it's the coolest thing in the world to me. And every year I see it and I'm like, damn it. It fucking rips. I'm rambling just to say that it fucking rips.
Can't agree more.
Speaking of things that fucking rip, we're going to play a game today that I'm so excited about. We are sitting down to play Pale Dot by Devin Nelson. This is a game about a crew of non-human cosmonauts leaving their planet to explore a strange solar system, finding threads to unravel the unknown along the way. It is fantastical, surreal, and perhaps unlike humanity's own ventures in space exploration. The one thing is universal: leaving home is a terrifying, dangerous, humbling, and a catalyst for changing one's perspective. I love this game, truly. I played it with Devin a while back, and I love, this game just stuck with me in a way that when we started talking about doing this episode, I will throw 4 different games and be pick one. And I was like, this feels like the vibe. To me, this feels like the energy that I want us to explore.
I am so excited. I took a cursory glance through some of the materials, and then I had to stop myself and pull myself away because it's all about exploration and discovery. So I needed to I wanted to fully embody that in the play where I'm finding out what the rules and mechanics are as we're learning.
I'm so excited about that. Great energy. I'm thrilled about it. But let me ask you, like, what are you excited to play through today? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What are you, excited? What's got you excited about the game? Like, talk to me about what you're bringing to the table.
Oh yeah, certainly. I'm really interested in this extraterrestrial galaxy themes that we're playing with. It like the color palette of the game is so provocative.
It's the colors and the layout is so gorgeous on this game.
Yeah.
Like, it really captures the imagination.
And the artwork is really interesting. This cool contrast between this like highly polished cover art and then this like very playful like inner book artwork that is like really, really interesting to me.
It's almost got like a finger paint energy to it. Like it's very watercolory. It's very like splotchy, and like it playful is exactly the word that I would use. Like it evokes this real sense, and like this idea that like we're traveling to the, outer reaches of outer space and like leaving the solar system, but like presenting it in this way that is sort of like magical and strange and joyful, I think is such an interesting like presentation for a thing that can be so like, alien exists for a reason, and an alien movie just dropped, and kind of like consciously framing this in sort of the opposite approach is very cool and exciting.
Yes.
So I think we should just go ahead and dive right in. We are going to create sort of the world around us. There's a few pieces of lore for us to read, and then we are going to like create the cosmos around us. We'll start by reading this text. I'll read the first one, then we can kind of go back and forth from there.
Great.
So objects into motion. We are the Dustlings. We are sentient beings just like any in the cosmos, though we haven't met any others yet. We have a small society just past the cusp of a modest technological revolution, one in which we've invented the means to explore what is just beyond our world. As fledgling cosmonauts, we founded the Wondrous Endeavor, an organization that seeks to explore the heavens and our place in it. Each player establishes one fact about the Dustlings with the expectation that more will come up in play. What is a detail that pops into your head about the sort of alien species that embodies that we are embodying today? What's the first thing that pops into your head?
So, a question: would this be like common for our whole species, or is this an individual trait that we have?
I think this is common for all of our species, or at least like our organization or the characters that we are going to like inhabit.
Ooh, okay. I've been really interested. There's this like one monster design that's been really like floating around my head for a while. That is, the head is just a large mouth on our otherwise sphere, like completely abject of other typical features. And there's something like really tasty about that to me. Of just
that's juicy. That's juicy. I like that.
I would love to play with that.
I want to kind of, I think, expound on that a little bit. I'm like I'm bouncing this orb with a mouth in my head. I guess I should throw out I guess my detail will be kind of the other detail, or the thing that is apparent in my head when I hear those words, which is like you mentioned like the mouth is on an orb and that is the body. I don't know that there's anything else.
Ooh.
Or if there is, I think it is I think limbs in this instance, or like digital manipulation, all of those kind of things are somewhere between energy and jelly that surrounds us. Kind of a little bit of like a Ghostbuster-y ectoplasmic, like we are orbs with mouths and like grasping sort of like, and there's kind of I think building on that, like as the vision kind of flushes into my head, I think that kind of, it's not so much a like psychic, like we're bouncing between things. I think it is a like, we can control one thing at a time. You know what I mean? Ooh. Like there's kind of a like, whether it's a psychic energy thing or like a jelly tendril that pops out, like you can grab a thing and control it to some degree at a time.
Exciting. I like that.
That's my detail.
Mm-hmm.
All right, talk to us about the moat.
Yes, I would love to. The moat. We live on the moat, the only home we've ever known. It's a small world, a quaint, pale dot, but it's ours, and everyone we've ever known is here. While it was once touched by the Forgotten Ones, their influence is inscrutable, and they were gone long before we were sapient enough to recognize them. Most Dustlings live in the community of Speckle, which doubles as their headquarters for the wondrous endeavor. From the moat, we stare into the night and wonder about enigmatic bodies that drift in harmony with us. Each player establishes one fact about the moat with the expectation that more will come up in play. Beautiful. Yeah. Do you have an idea for what the moat could be like?
The moat, the only home we've ever known. I picture, I guess I'm picturing very like rocky, very crevassy, very like almost. I think what I'm trying to get at is like the natural structure or like the default structure is clay or like awkward clay sculpture.
Ooh.
Less formal structure, maybe less like sculpture, but more like clay mound, I think is the vibe. These sorts of like big globby. Imagine you took 10 trillion pounds of like molding clay or arts clay and just sort of like threw them from a high distance at the ground and let the structures sort of like pile up. And so it's like multicolored, kind of in that Play-Doh color palette. That's the visual that I get.
Yeah, I love that. And there's also this idea like this species might not be great with like fine crafting, given their like chin and lips,
Yeah. I think that's I want to add that detail specifically. Like I think there is like a like sense of I think. Thinking about Jeff gets too big into world building for a second. I think there would have to be some kind of like very purpose-built technology. Things are kind of like mono tools, I think, are like a big thing. Or maybe it's like it's the extremes of things things do one thing or things do everything because you can only really like operate one object at a time.
Oh, I'm obsessed with that. Yeah.
All right. What's another detail about the moat?
Oh, another detail about the moat. I don't know. I'm gonna just talk out loud right now and like maybe somewhere. I'm thinking about this idea that it's exclusively a mouth, and like evolutionarily, it is a mode in which to receive energy. Like a mouth is made to consume things, to like provide for the body. And I love that it is like this idea of mono object, like the whole body has kind of become that. It is this mono object of consuming energy. And then like all of this excess energy is used to like manipulate things and into this jelly, into this like psychic matter, however it establishes itself. So I'm wondering like what is all of this energy for? Like maybe there's some core at the center of the society that like all this energy is being built towards.
That's fucking interesting. Like this idea that like there is like that. I mean, and it's it is not to reveal my inspirations too much and not to reveal my extremely uncool, but like I get the vibe of like a Green Lantern power battery of just like there is like one heavy big sort of like sacred object that is just pulsing with energy that kind of like as things are consumed it just sort of like there's this almost kind of also points us towards something, but I think is interesting to push against at the same time. I think it's very much not. It's very fascinating to me to consider a hive body that is not a hive mind.
Ooh, oh, very, very fun.
That is a very compelling idea. The idea that like we are every single dustling is feeding a central core.
Mm-hmm.
But we are all our own beings, our own lives, but like this thing that we share in common is all being fed into a single space and like all being pulled from the same place is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like we can totally play in or against that, but just the idea that there is a native drive that we are all expected to like feed this body, and that is part of the reason why we were born onto this galaxy is an interesting theme that's in the space.
All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk through is the cosmos. We have only just begun to comprehend the cosmos beyond our skies. Few have journeyed past the clouds and Iota, our watchful moon, and returned. And they've all come back changed. Some no longer themselves, some more themselves than ever. The stories told make the cosmos seem infinite but claustrophobic. That it's safer to cling to our moat, for we will never fathom the weirdness of the stars. We are but particles drifting with the tides of uncertainty. So what's a rumor about the cosmos?
I really like this phrasing of the tides of uncertainty, and it immediately brings up images of going to an ocean and being told not to swim too far out, or else like the current will pull you in and you will never reach shore again. So I wonder if there's something either literal or metaphoric in the world. Perhaps we like our society isn't sure that drift too far out and you will be pulled into the void and never expect to find your way back.
Hearing you say all of that, I think is fascinating, and I think I'm gonna tie in a rumor to that. Because hearing you talk about like being at the shore, you know, watching the water, not being told not to go in because you might get pulled away, like really thinking about that analogy of the water, right? Like very literally taking that analogy of the tides. I think my rumor is that like there are two cosmoses.
Ooh.
Like I'm thinking specifically about like high tide and low tide. The idea that like the water shifts between these two very distinct states. What if space also operates like that?
Brilliant, yeah.
What if like quite literally like if you were to go up at the wrong time of day, you might find a different, you know, imagine you were on a rocket being sent to Mars, but like because we sent it during the day, our time, you arrive and Mars is like, and it's an entirely different set of planets out there.
Yeah, I love that idea that like space travel is so terrifying, and like the also taking into consideration time and distance and throwing an extra curve into there to say like, and also you have to consider these like random nautical terms that we're abstracting to fit this setting is really exciting.
I think that's really cool and weird. All right, great. The last thing that we're gonna read, I decided it makes more sense to read it now, is to briefly read through the 5 setting elements. Why don't you go ahead and read the Cosmic Wilderness? We just gotta read these just so that we have kind of our grounding for when they come up later. Read through the Cosmic Wilderness for us.
The Cosmic Wilderness. While our world is While our world is full of natural wonders, many dustlings become cosmonauts to see what else is out there. The variance of life, place, and form boggles the mind. Worms the size of worlds, flowers and shades never before seen, entities displaced from our reality, and a myriad of other unfathomable. The stories veteran cosmonauts tell sound like fever dreams.
We are members of the Wondrous Endeavor, the proud fledgling space program of the Moat. It's low-tech, crude compared to what the Forgotten Ones built, but it works. While we as a people are new to extraterrestrial flight, we are not the Moat's first cosmonauts. We dustlings have already dipped our appendages into the heavens with varied success, but little is known about the other bodies in our cosmic neighborhood.
Can I just say, I love the phrase cosmonauts so much. That
was the first thing that caught me about the game was Devin pitched it to me and I went, going with cosmonaut is such a good flavorful, it's a chef's kiss, real like tiny touch that brings with it a lot of weight.
Totally. Yeah. It gives like my first impulse is like those old Buzz Lightyear cartoons where it's like a bunch of scrappy like rando people who are all like banding together to figure out the next frontier. Like, oh, so exciting.
It's great.
As we were. The Forgotten Ones. Ancient beings from long before our known history came to our system and world for unknown reasons, but died or disappeared long before we evolved thinking minds. Their ruins, stories, experiments, and sometimes bodies are all that remain. They don't look like us, but something about them reflects our own experience. We've recently developed rudimentary means to interpret their works, and some of their technology still functions.
We navigate the tides of uncertainty. The more we learn about what lies beyond, the less we understand and the more we fear the things we weren't meant to know. Dustling researchers have dubbed the collection of chaotic, unexplainable, holy, and sometimes violent phenomena the tides of uncertainty. The tides constantly lap at the shore of what we know, changing things and seeming stronger every day. Are there other inhabited worlds out there, or have they all been washed away?
And the last, but most certainly not least, is the omnipresent danger. While the moat is not without its perilous creatures and locals, we were not prepared for the dangers of outer space and all these strange new worlds that don't have our physiology in mind. Disaster comes in many forms. Cosmic radiation, time-space waves, unknowable beasts, unstable terrain, and the dark, unfeeling void. If fortune does not favor us, we will not be the first cosmonauts to be mourned. We understand what we signed up for.
I love it. I'm so stoked. So we've now met the world. We are now going to build our cosmonauts. We have a list of traits here. We're each going to choose 4 traits and build out like our cosmonauts' vibe, interests, expertise. These are the things that drove us towards becoming a cosmonaut. And that's going to help us kind of know who we are playing and like who we are embodying on this sort of desperate or curious 2-person mission heading into space.
Brilliant. Can't wait. So we begin with traits, is that right?
Yes. So you're going to pick 4 of the traits from this list, or feel free to like sub one in if you've got a really juicy idea, but we're going to pick 4 of these words to kind of fill out sort of an initial picture of who our person is.
I'll immediately grab linguistics. That touches me specifically. I enjoy a good fiddling of language there.
I do. I love that. That's good energy.
And there's something about like a mouth that that loves talking or like loves words and language.
That's good. You know what? Now that you say that, that's fucking good. That is energy there. I don't know if this one was meant figuratively, but Haunted's really got my and the idea like tying this into sort of the everything else we've kind of laid out. If somebody is quite literally surrounded by ghosts, that's a good energy.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Okay, so then I also want to pulling in archaeology as sort of I don't want to pull too closely to a setting element, and I think if I pull archaeology, I'm going to pull too closely to the Forgotten Ones. I think instead I might pull I don't know, do you have a second or a couple other ones that you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm leaning it like I'm trying to figure out if I should go towards stereotypes or against with this. Like I'm already coming up with this like very professorial type figure, but I'll throw demolitions in to
okay.
spice it up.
Sure. I think I'm gonna pull in I'm gonna throw myself away from sort of the vibe that I was initially sitting with and throw myself into scouting, throwing myself away from like just like communing with ghosts and learning their story into like seeking out places where ghosts might be and collecting them that way is like a very fun and weird purpose for a dustling to have.
Yeah. Ooh. I think my third is going to be ambitious. I think this combination of demolitions and linguistics is leaning me towards something of an archaeologist, but with no concern with preserving the structures that have been put in place. There is no concept that. That these are relics that need to be cherished. It is if there is a tomb that we need to break our way into, then we are breaking our way into it.
Yeah. I'm leaning into the vibe now that I've sort of now that I've put a ghost bro in my head. Morbid feels really good.
Oh, fun.
Of like being drawn towards places that are dead and things, and like places where dustlings were and didn't come back from. Like there's a morbid energy to that I think is really compelling.
Certainly.
And I think I think what I want here, I think, again, throwing against type, I'm going to pull in lighthearted as my fourth trait. So my 4 traits are lighthearted, morbid, haunted, and scouting. I've come up with a name as well. My name is Killmax. Q apostrophe L apostrophe Max. He, his pronouns. Killmax is like a ghost hunter, and is like, I think, like, finds joy in, seeking out sort of the lost voices of the dustlings that have ventured out within the moat, outside of the moat. Like there's a joy and a pursuit to that I think is sort of beautiful.
Oh, fun. I can't wait to see more about Quillmax. How do you pronounce it one more time?
Killmax. I think it's Killmax.
Killmax. Copy. Okay. My character, my 4 traits are linguistics, ambitious, demolitions, and my 4th, I'll go with petite. The runt of this crazy litter. I'm gonna go. Their name is Lurney. Lurney.
Lurney, great name.
And they use they them. And yeah, Lurney is definitely more of like a squat nerdy like just little punk of an adult, and never really grew out of punky habits, and is like steadfast in trying to solve all of their problems with these punky habits that they've always relied upon. So yeah, trying to blow past all of their obstacles with no consideration for the carnage left behind.
And the last thing that we need to decide for our characters is what's a curiosity? What is Lurney curious about? This is a short statement about what drives them. This is something we can change at any time, but like this is our sort of driving force as a character. My curiosity I've written down is there were dustlings before us. What were their stories? I think like that pursuit of I'm going to places where death is in the air, but it's because I want to like find the story of like the people that occupied those spaces. I think that is Killmax's like, that's the joy that Killmax gets from this sort of like weird kind of morbid lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. For Lurney, what I've come up with is frailty is in the mind. How can we strengthen that?
That's great. That fucking rips.
Yeah. I think there's something with this idea that that because this species is so is gathering all of this energy for this greater body, how does somebody who is unfocused on that, or like focused on individual autonomy, rely upon that. It's not through the body, it's through the mind. And they are taking this to like this furthest extreme.
I really love that.
Fun.
Time to get to know our ship. Our ship is the thing that we are traveling between, and we have a number of resources to or we have a number of features that we're going to like help us get through or avoid the omnipresent danger when we travel between objects. There's a list of features available to us. Which one of these jumps out as something that you want our ship to have? And that is going to kind of color what our ship sort of looks like and the visual aesthetic of it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good list. It's a good list.
It's a really good list. Space Hook definitely jumps out to me. That was a lot of fun. I can't immediately picture Mirror Bubble, but I like the two words next to each other.
I do like the two words. I am going to throw out external manipulator as one of our features specifically.
Ooh.
Because I like the aesthetic that like this is a mechanical mirroring of how we as dustlings interact with objects. Like it is a single large manipulator that is like that like is usable from the ship, because that is just like the way that we process it's the way that we process completing tasks, is that like there is a single task, a single object like connects it together, and that is sort of that's what exists on our ship as the way that the ship interacts with objects.
Huge fan of that. And I love the idea, that really fun trope that whenever it pops up, gets me giddy, of the alien species that touch down on Earth in basically a giant mech that is shaped like their species, and then the trap door opens up and like 1,000 tiny versions of the ship.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
It's so stupid. It's rips. So fun.
Yeah, that's a good vibe. What other feature do we have?
Oh, we get two. Oh my god, incredible.
Oh, we actually get three, so we get to choose one. We'll collectively choose one more once you pick one.
Okay, sounds good. Environmental. I keep glancing at this uncertainty stabilizer. We talked a lot about how this presents itself, and the idea that it really is just like an element of chaos, as described in the setting elements, to be able to interact with chaos is something curious to me. And maybe that plays into all of this energy that we are building up, and like perhaps talks to like part of the greater purpose of why we're building up this energy. Is it to combat this this instability? I'm not sure, but
I like that. I think that's really great. I think that's I love that as like a counterbalance to all of the things we were describing about space. I think, what's the third thing? You said it, and I keep coming. You know what? I'm going to throw out the two options. Is it a mirror bubble or is it a space hook? Like, what's the energy?
Oh my gosh. I feel like space hook was like really out of left field, which could be hilarious to be like, yes, we are these mouth people who are surrounded by all of this energy. Of course our ship is, and we have a hook. And like no further explanation. Like I don't know what the hook is for. There was an image that popped into my head that it's used instead of like an anchor or like a something to like, or like a fishing hook. It's instead like a swinging grappling hook that it's like, I don't know, used to like
latch it into something, like latch it in place. Sure.
Yeah.
I really adore that, is the thing. Like, I like that specifically because, like, going to the visual that this ship is a large version of us as dustlings, if this ship is just like a gigantic orb, like, that's very fun to just like imagine this orb is just like hung from a rock via a hook.
Yeah, that's really funny.
That's really which means that it's time to embark on our journey. Like it is time to establish it. It is time to take off into the night sky. Which means that it is time to begin to establish turn order and sort of begin the launch. Which is great because it means I get to ask a really fun question that is baked into the game. And also great because we're both in Philadelphia, which means that like this makes this question especially difficult. Which of us most recently stared into the night sky in a place without significant light pollution?
Oh, this question is so near and dear to my heart. It's like one of my truthfully least favorite things about Philadelphia is that it's so
there's just you just don't get stars. Like I love this city from the bottom of my heart, but that is one thing that like whenever I leave it, I'm like, oh yeah, right. But
wow, mine was probably a month ago.
You've definitely got me beat. I think mine would probably be like a year or so. It's funny because I'm taking a camping trip tomorrow, but like technically you still got me beat.
That makes me feel better because I was about to like mourn your loss of a connection to the greater cosmos if you just said, and I have no plans like to see the stars anytime soon.
No, like I think that, I'm going tomorrow out into the woods. And so like, we've got me beat by a day. Okay. So, we have established we've established our turn order. You will go first. I will go second. This is going to come into play when we land a cosmic object and start like, making choices there. But for now, we are going to embark on a launch. Which means we need to just make a decision. Each of us is going to like represent two of these setting elements, and then one of them will be shared between us. How do you feel about the cosmic wilderness? Like, do you want to claim the cosmic wilderness, or do you want me to take control of the cosmic wilderness? This will be us like representing that in play and evoking that to describe new environments, introducing flora and fauna, and like juxtaposing things that the cosmonaut has experienced before.
I think that I could feel confident with Cosmic Wilderness. I think that one sounds fun.
So you are controlling the Cosmic Wilderness, which means that lead us off with a description of the moat and the settlement of Speckle. This is the opening shot as the camera zooms in on our world.
Excellent. Yeah, as we zoom in, we notice, we zoom into a ground level, and it is that clay structure that you were describing. It is akin to a desert, if we want to imagine it, but the creature that scurries across is 8-legged and 3-eyed and has a curling tongue before it scurries off out of sight. And there is hardly any fauna in sight. A few things sprouting out of the ground that are quickly grabbed by another small creature and made off with before something else larger can find it. And altogether, there is this thrumming that seems to be coming from within, a sense of a small quake that is rebounding from the center of this world. And as we begin to pan out and see the civilization that is coming to within sight, it's a mixture of flattened. It's a mixture of flattened plateaus of clay that have brief little windows and holes in the structures that you can see. These dustlings are floating and rolling in and out of. And occasionally these tall spires that seem to defy everything else around it. And at the top of one of these spires is a ship that looks a lot like ours, if not our very own ship.
Great. Now it's time for us to introduce our cosmonauts with a quick little vignette, show them saying their farewells and reporting to mission control.
How fun.
I envision Kilmax. Kilmax is like deep underground. I think that we see like a series of tunnels. We see a weird, terrifying, weird looking clay tunnel. And like inside of there are, scratched warnings and there's symbols carved into the wall and warnings and things. And like peeling through that, I think like we almost see like a small wall like it pulled open with this very kind of Clay-Doh play-like texture. As sort of like floating through it is Kilmax, who kind of like looks around and like looks at the symbols, and maybe there's a I was gonna say skull, but like I don't even know if like skull. I think there's teeth embedded. Like there are remains, I guess is what I would say, like fossilized remains. Looks around, is like, all right, everyone, be good, be kind to one another, and I will be here to pick up where we left off. When I return, I will share with you my stories if you tell me yours. And like, we watch this sort of like, globule energy. I realize as I'm saying it, I'm realizing exactly what I'm envisioning. The thing, the like time travel thing from Donnie Darko, where it's like a fluid sort of like tunnel effect is what I'm envisioning, sort of like emerges around. It's this sort of watery tunnel effect kind of emerges and like adjusts something and like straightens something out, smooths out a wall and repels out of this cave, crashing through as sort of scientists are pacing back forward. I'm here. I'm all good. Please don't send the ship off without me.
Incredible. Yeah, I think the scientists start to roll over, and they're all in a hustle and bustle as the ship is about to take off, and a few briefly acknowledge you. I think a commander of sorts gives you a stern guffaw in in some sort of contempt for the lateness that you're displaying.
Love that. Adore that. What's the vignette for Learning?
Learning, I think, wakes up under a mound of clay. So the initial image is just this small little bump before they shiver themselves out of the clay that has accumulated over the course of their rest. And a sneeze kind of blasts them halfway across the room as they slam against the wall and kind of crumble a little bit. And they prop themselves up and rotate around to make sure that nobody witnessed their morning ritual before they start to get ready. They do some sort of lip exercises that you might see somebody preparing before some sort of concert, but they're doing it just to wake themselves up and really extending the sounds of their mouth and stretching it to their widest possibilities and then scrunching it back together. And you can see.
I don't know why I started doing that as you were describing it. I don't know why I was like,
And with me now, yes. Ooh, ah. And you can see Lerny has a gangly set of teeth. Truly would love it if braces were invented in this world. It is gigantic gaps, and the ones that are there are fractured in jutting weird directions, and Definitely, compared to Kilmax, they are smaller, and their body like a little bit more wrinkly. Um, yeah, so they start to like shuffle up, and as they clear open into something more of a familial gathering space. They have three more of their family members there waiting, all significantly larger than Lerny. And there are some attempts to wish Lerny off goodbye from their other family members, which Lerny, by and large, kind of brushes aside and tries to like roll past before they say, "Well, off to bigger and better." Um, and, and says, "Emphasis on bigger." And before anybody else can get another word out, they push themselves against the back wall and sort of like merge out of it before like sloshing to the ground on the other side of the wall. And they make their way up to where the ship is about to take off.
That's great. All right. And so since you are embodying the cosmic wilderness, I will embody the wondrous endeavor, and so I will take the next part of the launch and describe the launch sequence. I think I'm going to answer the question: do Dustlings gather to watch the launch, and what is the public mood? I had a realization as I was thinking about this question. I think it is in fact a yes, and like they do gather, and I think like as we are getting onto the ship, we like settle in and collectively dozens and dozens and like the entire community of Speckle like comes out, gathers in a giant like in a circle, like a crowded around the outer edge of the ship, and we see the I'm gonna call it the beating heart. We see the beating heart. The big humongous sort of like object of which all of our power is drawn from and stored in, and like it, you know, shudders. It ripples for a moment as hundreds of these sort of like protrusions of like energy and exertion kind of like come out. I think that the other Dustlings don't just gather to watch. I think they gather around, they like grab, and I think like maybe it is you or I, like maybe I emerge, flip the like unhook, very literally like unhook it. We find like the ship starts to float with all of these hundreds of Productions grabbing the edge of it, and they collectively heave ho us into outer space.
Oh, incredible. Oh, I'm getting spirit bomb energy.
Big spirit bomb energy. Like it is everybody gathering. It's half spirit bomb and half just everybody throwing, collectively throwing you out of the bar.
The most awkward version of it. Oh, incredible.
How are you feeling at this moment? How is Lerny feeling at this moment?
Nauseous. They are, yeah, of course, feeling like new bodily sensations, that they are being jutted and tossed around. And, I think like the containment units that they're in, so if they aren't bouncing around like marbles, are, these strange little half crescent orbs that there's this like awkward strap that is containing them within this, and and I think size plays into it again, where they are like not quite secured in enough. They are like just underneath.
That's great.
The size capability, so they're just like bouncing around in this little tiny jar that is like just too like one size too large for them.
I adore that. That's wonderful. I think Kilmax is giddy, And I think quite literally evoking a trait that I have not yet evoked, quite literally, like, as he gets excited, I think like he is unhooked it. He is now bouncing from side of the ship to side of the ship, like running in kind of like circles, checking on things.
Oh,
As that is happening, voices and faces and like calls out into the void are appearing around him in the ship. Like there's
wow.
like a clear sense of like haunted, very literal in this
Yeah.
instance, as like ghostly presences are like, there's moments of joy, there's moments of like I will love you until our dying day, and there's moments of like I am going to be the one that fucking kills you, mark my, like all
Oh,
of these
no.
very emotional sensations are kind of just like lopping up, and like learning, you are just watching like faces come out of a wall for a split second and then fade back away, and like um it is the most physical, visceral, like ectoplasmic representation of Kilmax being like in his element imaginable. Like
Yeah.
quite literally, the ghosts that surround him are also getting like fired up and emotionally charged and like peeking out at the margins.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah, like just being surrounded by like it's still a familial energy that Kilmex is running around
Mhm.
with as these like familiar ghost faces are joining him.
Yeah, it's like there's a I think there's a I mean there's probably a terror to it. Like I don't know how common the ghosts are
Oh,
outside of
cool.
Kilmax, but like but like you can tell there's like a comfort to, like you can see a comfort to Kilmax. Like it's once those faces and voices start to emerge that like Kilmax, like the circle soften, like the orb softens a little bit, like it kind
Mm,
of goes from being like an orange to a grapefruit. Like it's a little bit larger, a little bit softer, and the tension has dropped a little bit.
mm.
And now we embark. We have blasted off into low orbit, which means it is time for us to decide on the first cosmic object we visit. We have a list of them here. I'm going to briefly. We have a list of objects. An example being the Greater Moat, which is represented by the Cosmic Wilderness. We have a whole bunch of them. I think there are
Wow. Yeah.
specifically like 24 of them that we have to flip through.
Oh my god, incredible.
We can choose any of them. Is there one that particularly feels compelling to you?
Whew, give
Because
me.
they're all juicy. Like the
They
thing is, they're
are.
all pretty juicy. Is there any? You're looking at the big titles in bold, and the other ones are like scene prompts that will come up while we're on the object.
Gotcha. Um, I'll spit out three that immediately caught my eye,
Sure.
and maybe we can try to narrow it down from there.
Yeah.
Immediately on the first set of pages, the puddle in bloom, I think is really
Love that.
engaging and charming. Howling Tartarus, really curious on what that's about. And the Zenith in Ice, those are all bouncing out at me.
I think I wanna do two. I think I want to do the Zenith and Ice second,
Okay,
because
cool.
the idea of finding a ship way far out is fascinating and exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm drawn to the puddle in bloom. Like that is a very kind of that just I'm looking at that phrasing, and that's very juicy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing I'm just I think those are the two that I want to pull on. I
Let's do them.
think. Okay. So we have arrived at the puddle in bloom, which is represented by the cosmic wilderness. This is a dense, ever-expanding jungle world, grasping a colossal drop of water entwined by impossible streams and vines. You represent the setting element of the cosmic wilderness. So describe to us what we are seeing here.
Yes, please. Oh my god, I love this image grasping a colossal drop of water. Yeah, so it is truly it is completely defying the laws of physics and gravity, where there is a a thin by comparison to the world, but still like dense enough to be considered a layer of the planet. Is this vine layer? So from the exterior, it is craggy, it is misshapen. Nothing is flat. Nothing is really even. Nothing is. How do I put this? Like two-dimensionally wide. There are, of course, there are these long strands that is almost this woven texture that creates the entire planet. And just beneath the surface of that is an orb of water. It is somehow been perfectly contained and has its own pull, but it is an ocean 360 degrees around that these vines are barely containing. And popping out from these vines, there are swamp trees, and there are these bursting streams that peek their way through these vines, and strange mammals are rummaging around the trees and poking their heads out from beneath the water to gain air before sinking their way back deep into the depths that the light does not touch from within the center of the water.
That's so cool. That's so sick. So now an hour into our game, I'm gonna describe the core cycle of play. Basically how this is gonna work is, now that we have arrived at a cosmic object, we are going to take turns choosing prompts from the list of prompts below that object. And like improvising scenes, moments, places, things inspired by that prompt. While we are doing that, any player can at any time invoke the omnipresent danger. You can put us in danger to put us at risk, and by doing so, you are unlocking keys to the success of the mission. You can choose to acquire a resource or a key. Resources refresh our traits. Keys advance us towards the mission. When that is evoked, we have to expend a certain number of traits to overcome that danger. Basically, the way that we advance the mission is we collect keys. The ways that we collect keys are by spending traits to overcome danger. Resources allow us to recover those traits in between moments of action. So I'm going to look at this list, and I'm going to say, what is the first thing that we uncover? I see it exactly, because you were describing these weird creatures. We encounter the Submariner, a league of their own. The ship lowers into sort of the atmosphere of this gigantic, like barely contained ocean bubble. And I think we are consumed there, or hit in an instant. Our ship is knocked off of balance by a gigantic school of like weird spiraling fish. I'm imagining, like, if you looked at like a bass, but one that was like twirling itself like a fusilli pasta, like true spiral. Like, imagine a fish with a spiral pattern slapped onto it. That's the vibe. Thousands and millions of these fish, a gigantic score of them, leap out of the water, slamming into our boat. And as I am holding the setting element of the wondrous endeavor, I am not sure that our ship is made to be in the water.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I'm throwing out. Is this invoking the omnipresent danger? What do you think?
I'm totally here for that. Yeah, why not?
Great. The omnipresent danger is evoked to put the crew at risk and create tension, show how another element has become dangerous, and to quell hubris, giving the cosmonauts a healthy fear of the unknown, which I think has been achieved here, as we have been struck by a wave of fish hurtling towards water, and I do not think that like our ship is designed to go underwater. So like we have provoked the omnipresent danger, which means we are going to spend traits. The 4 traits that you marked at the beginning of the game. Between the two of us, we need to spend 2 traits to address this threat. Do you have a trait on your list that you think we can like use to like move towards the crisis of avoiding the water or getting the ship out of the water?
Totally, yeah. So, point of clarification: by expending these traits, is this somehow impacting our character? Are we like no longer these things? Are we like using them in the scenario?
We use them in the scenario. Like we no longer we have them, but they are exhausted. We can refresh them and hold on to them, but like. Okay. This is sort of like expounding the part of yourself or exhausting the part of yourself that holds on to that like that piece of yourself.
Oh, that's exciting. I mean, I can think of something that goes with this ambitious trait of mine. That can be steps towards success here.
Go for it. Yeah. What do you got?
Beautiful. Yeah. So I think as soon as the ship begins to take water and starts to like flood the lower regions of the ship, and immediately Lerny jumps into action and begins to think that they can solve this by themselves. It's the first big crisis, and they want to be the first ones to jump into it and prove themselves to the rest of the people on this ship. So they immediately start expending their mind energy, their jelly, their goo, their sludge, but it takes so much effort. Like it looks painful as Lerny is like forcing this out of their body, and yeah, outside of them begins to emerge these large chunks of this spectral energy, and Lerny begins to roll over to each of the cracks in the hull and basically like glues up the holes to give us all more time as the ship begins to sink.
That rips. I adore that. I'm gonna like also pull a trait immediately and like get us out of here by expounding my lightheartedness. I think it is specifically like there's like a moment where Kilmax lets Lerny kind of take the helm and like exert themselves before kind of like jumping in and sort of like also manning the ship. I think there's like a sense, and I think there's sort of a playful sense of getting dragged into, of like letting, there's a playful sense of like, you're in charge, you tell me what to do. Like,
yeah, certainly.
There's a few almost like they're kind of jabbingly, but like a little bit playfully antagonistic of like, Kilmax will kind of stop for a second, turn to Lerny and be like, what now, champ? Where am I going? Like, tell me where to go. And like, kind of like knows the next thing that happened, but is waiting for Lerny to kind of like shout it at him.
Yeah. And Lerny
like
truly gives like the most basic instructions. These are not like the great mind of some future leader, but in this moment they're being made to feel that way.
Yeah, and I think that's me using lighthearted. So we like collectively like we are surrounded by these fish, and I'm gonna even as I throw it to you to choose our next prompt.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw us a very big pitch. Like as we are floating and bouncing, we get dragged into like the fish surround us in such a way that like we are dragged under the water but shielded from the water itself. Like Brilliant. We are almost in a bubble of these twirling spiral fish as we are pulled deeper and deeper into the water. What is the next thing that we encounter?
Really fun. Real quick, do we obtain a key? Is that how
we do obtain a key? That is we can always pull a resource if we want to refresh things. But like I think in this instance we are pulling a key.
Great. Cool.
Let me see. A key, we should decide on what clue we find that advances our progress on the mission.
Did we decide on a mission?
I don't know if we did decide on a mission. I think we may have passed the part where we skipped over our mission. Shit. Great. Anyway, we've got a mission. Our characters like may not know it on the launch. There's something bigger going on. I love that we did not know this, and now there's really something bigger going on. Accidentally brilliant. One or more of the following prompts that we can choose from. Like, is there a prompt off of this list? Let's choose two of them. Is there a prompt on this list that you are compelled by?
I'm curious by something. Somebody important to our community has sent out a mysterious distress signal.
I like that.
Yeah, right now it seems like our society is like so focused on this body that we are feeding. So to think that we have objectives outside of ourselves and outside of our community and towards like a separated ally paints more of a color to it.
Yeah, and I think like leaning on that and like furthering that sense of conflict, I'm gonna pull on there's something ominous and enigmatic about the Endeavor's intentions. And I think maybe this is a good moment to realize that, which is like realizing I think there's even a moment where like we get this under control and like that kind of prompts us to have the like the light bulb moment of, oh, hey, do you know what we're doing out here?
Yeah. Oh, there's something really scary, like being out in this terrifying zone and not even knowing why we're here. And
It's
like, how do we
good.
even convince ourselves to get into this situation?
That's great. I think that's wonderful.
Real fun.
Okay, cool. So like we have found something that advances that mission. I think I have a pitch.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also going to push us towards our next cosmic object.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we have found a key, we can technically leave. We can leave a cosmic object at any time, and I think maybe this even gives us, after maybe one more scene here, this gives us a push towards our second object. I think we get the distress signal, and it is from. What was the name? I lost the name of the specific name of the ship. It is from the Zenith and Ice.
Ah, great. Yeah. Big fan. So yeah, we received that distress signal. Leaning in that direction, I think the next setting element or the next cosmic object prompt that we'll go through with is a slight twist on the rusted outpost. It is the ship of whoever we are trying to save out here. This is, I wonder if there's something in this like nice duality that we've set up where we are autonomous. We are autonomous creatures serving this like greater body. Perhaps the ally that we're speaking towards is part of this hive mind, like a different society that mirrors ours in some way.
I like that, especially because like this is represented by the Forgotten Ones, which is like the stuff that came before us. There's a very nice duality there. If like the thing from a time before was many minds, if we are, it was like one mind, many bodies. If we are if we are many minds, one body, they are many bodies, one mind. Like there's something very compelling to that.
So yeah, somewhere, there is this rusted outpost that we see deeper in the depths of this water droplet ocean, beyond what the light can normally touch, and it is this like vast unknown as our ship is taking on water, and it takes the form of what should it do? I have a thought.
We arrive at this thing because like we're thinking that we have been like, we are discovering that we are sent to rescue someone from we're sent to recover someone from the Zenith and Ice. Like, we think that's going to be where we're headed. So I want to say, and this is an object from a hive mind entity. This is an object from a hive mind entity. So I think what I want to propose is that, like, being in the presence of this, like, ancient, powerful, weird object station thing, right? Like, I'm almost envisioning like an undersea radio tower sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Being in the presence of it bends time, space, and consciousness a little bit.
Ooh.
And like we are greeted by the crew calling out for help on the Zenith and Ice.
Exciting. Yeah. Some sort of like transdimensional portal that is communicating this information to us. Brilliant.
That's, I think. And so like we receive this signal. And so like what is one visual preemptively? What is one visual reference point for the Zenith and Ice that pops into your head? Like what bleeds out in front of us?
Yeah. I think it's like one of this entity is like trillions of bodies is shunted out of this like rusted portal, and it is completely frostbitten. Like every part of it is blue, but all the rest of it has like been sucked its color out, and it is just this like gray shade of blue that is remaining over its body.
That's gorgeous, and I think there is I think there is at least one crew member that we see, another dustling that is like frozen. The sludge has frozen, which I think is like a metaphysical thing of like, this is so cold that like this object that is like partially energy and like maybe, you know, like a metaphysical representational type thing has also frozen around it, and it's like encased in this sort of like watery ice structure.
Exciting. Yeah.
And like and I think like as we stand in this instant, like we see these dustlings that are frozen, and yet still we can hear them saying like, help us, like get to us. Like we hear it. We know that they're like, oh, they're alive in there. They're just frozen.
Yeah. And we don't just hear it, but we also feel it. It's this connected body. It is like we are literally feeling the sensations of this cold start to chill us.
We feel cold, but we also feel that pulsing heartbeat of like, oh, there's life in there. Okay. I think shaken to his core, Kilmax is like, I think we found our mission. I think we have to go.
Yes. I think so too. Yes, I was about to say that.
I'm sure you were. You're a great leader. Take us, and I think like rolls backwards a little bit, like take us where we gotta go. And I think like allows Lerny to sort of like shunt us back into the air.
Brilliant. Yeah. Take some sort of control of the ship. And yeah, we start to head off through the cosmos away from this.
What is the omnipresent danger that we forgot to do this when we came to the first object, but we're doing it now. What is the omnipresent danger that like collides with us as we are embarking to this new object? And which of our three features of our ship like repels it? Like what is the threat that burns through one of our resources or our features of the ship?
I don't know. I think there's this fun idea that this like deep sub-zero frost is coming from within this puddle because of this extra-dimensional portal. So like, is it not as easy to get out of the puddle as we thought? Is it like this thing that was once water is now turning to ice?
It's like floating through jelly. Like it is like This is such a weird and silly reference point, but I've been watching videos of a red hot chrome ball dropped into fluids.
Wait, I know this came across my feed literally today for the first time. This is wild that I'm getting multiple references to this.
You start watching it and you can't stop watching it. Watching it go through like KY jelly or like hand sanitizer. That's the energy that I'm getting. Like it's bubbly and it's like thick and viscous and like it's slowing us, and that's the threat that like which of our features do we have to expend to like punch through the jelly?
Yeah. Wait, as a reminder, we chose
the hook. We've got the hook. We've got the instability or the uncertainty stabilizer, the space hook, and the external manipulator.
Ooh. I'm going to go out on a limb and say hook does not feel true here. But yeah, uncertainty stabilizer, I could see that working in our favor here. In this way that this is so chaotic and so absurd and so unlike anything that we had really expected or planned for on our planet of dry clay, and where everything has a very specific malleability to it, and now we are being wrought with this dichotomy of hyperfluid and this like new substance that we're trying to submerge our way through. Just like absolute confusion is going off on all of the sensors. And I think, the ship starts to blare all of these flashing lights and warning noises and and it is like, it is truly confused. And so I think Lerny goes over and presses the and failsafe is giving it way too much credit. I think it is truly like a roll of the dice, a complete like random factor, the MacGuffin, where it's like, I don't know if this is going to help or hurt us, but it will change where we are currently. And as this becomes activated, we are jutted like light years away to this zenith in the
Zenith and ice. This is represented by the wondrous endeavor. I'll describe what we see. We emerge out and the space is a different color. Like it goes from like maybe the black star riddled space that like we are used, that like you and I envision, to like something closer to the color palette in the book where it's like yellow and pastel color. Like we have exited the tide zone into another tide zone. Like the space has changed. And before us is the zenith in ice. Before us is the zenith in ice, and it is not one ship. It is several ships. It is several ships. This is a futuristic looking ship encased in ice, apparently of Dustling design. This is like a collection of ships that have merged together. So it's like several orbs, several protrusions, all like kind of like fused together between ice and sludge and structure to where it almost looks like a honeycomb or a like a blobule structure of like many orbs latched, like fused together. This is like a cluster of ships, whether by design or happenstance, that have become fused together, and that is the Zenith in ice.
That goes really hard. I love that.
Which of our I think I know which of these setting elements, or which of these like scene prompts do you want to play through?
Yeah. The warning feels really on point for where we're at. Or perhaps the beacon, like those feel in like a similar vein, depending on which way we want to go.
Let's start with the beacon. I've got a really strong pitch for the warning that might serve as that I think will be a good cliffhanger. So let's play around with the beacon. Where did it lead them, and how did they return?
Hmm.
What comes to mind?
The beacon. Yeah, like what was this hive mind society doing here? Like why
Yeah.
I wonder if it's some sort of a betrayal. We were once allied civilizations between the Dustlings and the Hive Mind, and something within the Zenith and the Ice, something within this ice world, was a tool to secretly give this hive mind power over us. And now that it has backfired and the world was too much for them, they are coming onto the calling for aid from the allies that they were about to betray.
That's so great because like that also like gives us a picture of what the Forgotten Ones were of like I think like the ice and the crystal like it's all very aesthetic of like what these old hive mind was. It's very like crystalline technology, almost
Mm-hmm.
Fortress of Solitude of like these crystal structures, and they are kind of what has encompassed the ship itself as they have been like consumed by this entity. And as we approach like uh drawing on my haunted trait here,
Yeah.
I think like not spending it because I don't think we've triggered a danger necessarily unless we
Mm-hmm.
want to. But voices are calling, and they are voices of like terror and fear, and there is like a distinct moment where Kilmax like smiles very wide in that very kind of morbid way of like,
Ooh.
oh, something's something's fucked. Like something here is like dangerous and scary, and I'm very, very torn about this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that there's like part of the voices are have this echoing effect with this hive mind. There are thousands of bodies trying to reach out to you with the same message.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think that's real good. And I think I do want to like build to like a cliffhanger moment here
Yeah.
by dropping the warning because we've said that they're all calling the same thing. Um, I think it is. Uh, okay. Yep. Okay. I want to see how we both react to this message. Uh, your sky belongs to the Dustlings. This sky belongs to the hive mind.
Whoa.
And I think we flash back to to Speckle and to our world and to the moat, but like the sky is different here.
Yeah, yeah.
And we do not see, holes in windows and little Play-Doh caves. We see that like there are crystalline structures jutting out from the Play-Doh, and like things are like caked everywhere. And like it is clear that like this is not just an alternate space, this is an alternate reality
Mm.
where like in one world the hive mind died out, and in the other world we were the ones that died out, and the
Oh,
hive mind is the
wow.
ones that persevered. And
Mm-hmm.
like how does Lerny react to this knowledge?
Uh, I think they truly comprehend how insignificant and small they are in this moment. It is a moment of true paralysis where there's a version of this history that the entire civilization has been wiped out, and they were completely unaware of this. Nobody was aware of it, and that could have been. All of us could have suffered that exact fate, and it would have gone unnoticed in the grand scheme of things.
And I think there's a moment of just like terror and letting it all fade in before that grin comes back, and like lurching forward ever so slightly, Kilmax says, Lerny, how would you like to be the one to broker contact and change the fate of two separate universes at the same time?
Yeah. In this moment, Lerny shudders for a moment, and chooses, and like by an act of will, chooses to use this adrenaline rush to push them forward rather than backward in and on themselves, to a deep and scary place, and rides this wave that Kilmax is placing before us, and says, I think that sounds easily doable.
I love when you're too naive for your own good, and like has like such glee in his voice as we watch the ship like lurch towards this crystalline structure in which several of our dustling ships have been entrapped, and like we float towards either oblivion or destiny or both at the same time. And as we watch the ship float towards this crisis moment, I think that's where we leave our game for now.
Oh, incredible.
This
wow.
was so cool. I am so thrilled.
Me too. Oh my God, how much fun.
What was your favorite moment from play?
Oh boy, so many fun little, oh my God, like these insane little like mouth curls that Kilmax is doing, of this like this twisted side of him, that pops out, was really, really exciting. Like it is so well contrasted with the lightheartedness, and it was surprising, both moments, despite it was like, oh, we played this for like an hour, like how are you surprising me like twice with this, you know? It was so engaging.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Like the moment where you really described Lerny like throwing themselves into it, like I'm gonna be the one to fix this, and like was so instantly like relatable and charming, and like that was really what set me up to be like, okay, I see exactly how Kilmax is gonna like it take shape in this moment. Like I get it, I see it. This was so magical. Thank you so much for this. I'm beaming. I'm overjoyed.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a blast.
So real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online? Or in person sometime in the near future?
So you can find me on Instagram at Burke Patrick C. That's where I'm going to be posting about all of my creative endeavors, and you can find more information on my my show coming to the Fringe Fest, Thawing. So go there for all that information. You can also find that info on the Philly Fringe website, where you'll find all my show's information and the 300 other shows that are going to be premiering around the city this month. So please come and check out my show on September 25th at 9:30 p.m. That is going to be a blast. And please check out all the other shows at the Fringe, and see a fraction of them, and go on your own little adventure discovering new things about yourself and what kind of art you like.
I fucking love it. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. This was magical. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap things up. Take a future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Patrick for coming on the show. That game was like, it was so cool to like live in that space and explore this weird sort of sci-fi alien world. And like that cliffhanger, I love a good cliffhanger. Listeners know this. I adore getting to tell a story, finding that moment and going like, I don't want to know what happens next because the question is too juicy for me not to leave it unanswered. This game was something special. Thank you so much for playing this with me. This was a treasure. Listeners, if you are listening to this at the time of release right now, which you should be because the show is great, you should head to phillyfringe.org. You should look up Thawing. You should grab your tickets to next week's show on September 25th. You can also check the show notes for more information. You should go check out the show because it sounds incredible. It's got the same kind of energy and combination of like deep character stuff, world building. If you enjoyed this episode, I really feel like you're going to love it. You can find more information in the show notes. then head over to Instagram and follow Patrick over there at BurkePatrickC. Then, assuming it's still a website by the time I hit publish on this episode, which is genuinely never certain, you could, if you wanted to. I can't necessarily recommend it. Go to Twitter. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/Party of One Podcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/Party of One Discord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/Party of One merch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano-Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.